Why did the ancient Egyptians need wooden mummies? How thick is the layer of sand in Egypt? What is hidden in the very center of the Cheops pyramid? I have evidence that we still know nothing about ancient Egypt. I did a lot of work to collect this material. All information in this video is current as of early 2024. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. When the ancient Egyptians laid the foundation for their magnificent pyramids, the world was a completely different place. Woolly mammoths still roamed our planet, emphasizing the contrast between ancient civilizations and primitive nature. Among all the architectural wonders created by human hands, the Pyramid of Cheops stands out especially. Not only is it the only one of the 7 wonders of the world that has survived to this day, but it also has a unique architectural feature: 8 sides and not 6, as it might seem at first glance. This feature of the Great Pyramid becomes noticeable only in certain lighting and emphasizes the high level of knowledge of the ancient builders. Interestingly, contrary to popular belief, the pyramids do not contain hieroglyphs or other records that could tell about the life and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. This makes them different from other tombs, which are often decorated with images and text. The Great Pyramids are more monumental burial grounds than history books, and none of the treasures or paintings typically associated with pharaonic tombs have been discovered. The greatness of the pyramids also amazed later generations. Napoleon, having visited the Great Pyramid at the end of the 18th century, was so amazed by its scale that he estimated that the blocks of the pyramid would be enough to build a 3-meter wall around the entire mainland of France. This demonstrates the extraordinary amount of labor and materials that went into creating the pyramid. Only the Great Wall of China and the Three Gorges Dam can rival the Cheops pyramid in terms of weight and scale of construction, which shows how far mankind has advanced in the art of construction. Concluding this fragment, it is worth remembering Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, whose life was closer to our time than to the era of the construction of the Cheops pyramid. This is a reminder of the immensity of time during which the ancient Egyptian civilization developed and changed, leaving behind such magnificent monuments as the pyramids. How thick is the layer of sand in the desert? When you hear the word desert, you imagine huge sand dunes stretching beyond the horizon. But the desert is not only sand under the hot sun. This is a world full of mysteries and unexplored corners open to exploration. Exploring deserts is not an easy task due to the extreme climate and sometimes difficult political situation. But there is much more to the desert than meets the eye. In addition to sand, there are rocky, pebble, mixed and saline deserts, as well as Arctic deserts covered with ice and snow. All of them together occupy about 20% of the surface of our planet. Of particular interest is the depth of sand in deserts and what is hidden under this golden sea. Under the sand layer, there is always a stone foundation. Sand depth varies depending on location and various external factors, making measurements a challenging task. Sand dunes can move at speeds of up to 10 meters per year, making these seas of sand even more difficult to study. In the Sahara, the average sand depth reaches 150 meters, and in the Namib Desert, some dunes rise to 400 meters. It's not just rocks that hide beneath the desert sands. The Sahara, for example, contains reserves of oil, gas, and even fresh water, access to which is granted only to the most intrepid explorers. Scientists have mapped underground water located at a depth of about 75 meters, which represents a real treasure in the desert drought conditions. The Sphinx was not built by people. A recent discovery by a team of scientists from New York University radically changes our perception of the history of the Great Sphinx of Giza. Contrary to the generally accepted belief that the monument was carved by the ancient Egyptians, a new theory argues that the Sphinx is the result of natural forces. Researchers paid attention to yardings, natural sculptures formed by erosion in desert conditions, reminiscent of animals or people in their contours. Such formations are typical for archaeological zones with a similar climate, including the territory of Egypt. In experiments simulating erosion in the laboratory, scientists have proven that when exposed to wind and water, soft rock can form figures remarkably reminiscent of a sphinx. So perhaps the ancient Egyptians just polished and complemented the already existing natural form, giving it clearer features. This study opens a new page in understanding the processes of formation of archaeological sites and the role of nature in the art of antiquity. Pyramids of Giza. The greatness of ancient Egyptian civilization is most clearly demonstrated in the pyramids of Giza, standing on the Giza plateau as eternal guardians of time. Built over 4,500 years ago, these monumental structures remain one of mankind's most significant achievements, demonstrating not only architectural mastery, but also the ancient Egyptians' advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. In 2013, archaeologists discovered papyrus fragments that shed light on the mechanisms by which limestone blocks were transported. These documents, written by the chief of the pyramid's builders, Merer, recount the complex logistical operation of transporting the stones from the Tura quarries to the Giza plateau. The use of waterways and specially designed canals demonstrates a high level of engineering and planning. The Pyramid of Cheops, also known as the Great Pyramid, is striking in its astronomical accuracy. The orientation of the pyramid almost perfectly coincides with the four cardinal directions, which indicates the deep knowledge of the ancient Egyptians in the field of astronomy. This achievement required not only accurate astronomical observations, but also the development of mathematical and geometric calculation methods. One of the most fascinating mysteries of ancient Egypt is the mystery of the disappearance of the pyramid's shine. The pyramids of Giza were originally lined with sparkling white limestone, which reflected sunlight, making them visible for tens of kilometers around. This brilliant appearance not only emphasized the greatness and power of the pharaohs, but also symbolized their divine origin. Over time, most of the casing stones were looted and destroyed, which led to the loss of the original appearance of the pyramids. For nearly 4 millennia, the Great Pyramid remained the tallest man-made structure on Earth until it was surpassed by Lincoln Cathedral in England in the 14th century. This fact emphasizes the exceptional achievements of ancient Egyptian civilization in the field of architecture and construction. The construction of the pyramids involved the use of millions of stone blocks, each of which weighed from 2.5 to 15 tons. The ancient Egyptians developed and used sophisticated techniques and tools to quarry these blocks, process them, and place them precisely. Nubia, located south of Egypt, played a significant role in the history and culture of ancient Egyptian civilization. This region, rich in gold and other valuable resources, influenced the development of Egyptian art, architecture, and religion. The Nubian pyramids, although smaller in size compared to their Egyptian counterparts, demonstrate unique architectural skill and evidence the close cultural ties between the two regions. It is important to know that over 200 pyramids were built in Nubia, making the region one of the largest concentrations of pyramids in the world. Life of the ancient Egyptians. In the daily life of the ancient Egyptians, breakfast did not have the same extensive menu as modern meals. Simple but nutritious foods formed the basis: amma bread, a little honey or figs for sweetness, and perhaps a small amount of goat's milk cheese. This meal emphasized practicality and the need to maintain energy for the day ahead. It is important to note that the breakfast for the pharaoh and his family could have been more varied and rich, including meat products and fruits, emphasizing their status and difference from ordinary citizens. During the feast, the Egyptians displayed the wooden mummies for everyone to see. This custom served as a reminder of the brevity of life and the importance of enjoying the moment. This tradition may have been inspired by a belief in an afterlife and a desire to remind guests of the inevitability of death, which made every moment of earthly life even more precious. The very presence of a mummy at feasts may also have had ritual significance, linking the living with the world of the dead and ensuring the favor of the gods. Shoes in ancient Egypt were not only a practical item, but also an expression of social status and even a means of symbolic communication. Sandals of the upper classes could be made of expensive materials and decorated with complex patterns, which emphasized their high position. The images of enemies on the soles of the sandals symbolized their defeat and submission, serving as a reminder of the power and might of their owner. The ancient Egyptians were extremely attached to their pets, which is reflected in the art and literature of the time. Cats, dogs, and even more exotic animals such as lions and monkeys were often depicted alongside their owners, demonstrating the deep emotional bonds that form between man and animal. These animals not only served as companions, but also performed important functions in households and religious ceremonies. Cats in Egypt were especially revered, associated with the goddess Bastet, a symbol of protection and fertility. These animals were considered guardians of the house from evil spirits and pests. Dogs, associated with Anubis, the god of funeral rites, also occupied an important place in the life of Egyptians. They not only served as faithful companions and assistants in the hunt, but also symbolized eternal loyalty and protection. Fashion Fashion in ancient Egypt reflected not only social status but also religious beliefs. Clothes made of fine linen, which made it possible to withstand the hot climate, were complemented by bright jewelry which not only served as decoration but also as amulets. Attention to detail in clothing, jewelry, and makeup indicates a highly developed sense of aesthetics and a belief in the protective magic of these objects. Makeup, especially the famous black coal, was used not only to highlight the eyes but also as protection from sunlight and evil spirits. Beer was not just a popular drink in ancient Egypt, it played a central role in the economy and social life. Being affordable and nutritious, beer served as the main drink for all segments of the population and was even used as a means of payment. Beer production was a carefully regulated process controlled by the state, highlighting its importance not only as a commodity but also as an important element in religious and social rituals. Children's hairstyles in ancient Egypt were not only aesthetic but also symbolic. The strand of youth left on children's heads was not just a fashionable adornment, it symbolized their age and social status and also protected them from evil spirits and diseases. This trend was cut during the ceremony of transition into adulthood, highlighting the change in their social status. Funerary portraits, which appeared in Egypt during the period of Greco-Roman influence, represent a unique combination of Egyptian religious traditions and Greco-Roman artistic techniques. These portraits, depicting the dead with extraordinary realism, were intended to preserve their appearance for the afterlife, serving as a bridge between the worlds of the living and the dead. Mystical riddles of ancient Egypt. Since ancient times, the heavens have inspired the Egyptians to create majestic monuments. The astronomical knowledge underlying the construction of the pyramids is amazing in its accuracy and depth. The pyramids of Giza, aligned with amazing precision in accordance with the stars of Orion's belt, testify to the extraordinary knowledge of the ancients in the field of cosmology. Such accuracy gives rise to speculation about possible extraterrestrial influence or even assistance in construction. Various texts, including the pyramid texts, hint at a deep connection between the divine and the cosmic, suggesting that knowledge may have been passed down to humans from more advanced civilizations. The complexity and sophistication of ancient Egyptian architectural and engineering achievements, such as the ventilation system inside the pyramids and the acoustics in the temples, raises admiration and many questions. How were the ancient Egyptians able to so precisely craft and sculpt multi-ton stone blocks without any visible modern technology? Some argue that such knowledge could have been gained from the gods who, according to myth, visited Earth sharing their technology. These speculations are fueled by discoveries of unusually accurate star charts, surgical instruments, and other items indicating a high level of scientific and technological development. The discovery of artifacts with images resembling modern aircraft and complex mechanisms adds to the mystery of Egyptian history. For example, reliefs depicting objects resembling helicopters and submarines are controversial among scientists. Perhaps the ancient Egyptians were inspired by visions of the future or used artifacts left behind by more advanced civilizations as prototypes to create their own technologies. There is a theory that the ancient Egyptians had knowledge far ahead of their time, including the secrets of eternal life, methods of treating diseases incurable at that time, and ways to generate energy. This knowledge may have been lost over the centuries, leaving behind only hints and references in religious texts and myths. The discovery of medical instruments, astronomical knowledge, and chemical compounds used in mummification supports the idea that the ancient Egyptians had advanced knowledge. Imagine for a moment that an artifact was found in the depth of the Great Pyramid, indicating contact with an ancient civilization with technologies far superior to our own. The discovery of such a crystal, perhaps emitting an unknown type of energy, could revolutionize our understanding of history, science, and the very nature of reality. This hypothetical scenario embodies humanity's eternal quest beyond the known to discover lost knowledge that could change the world. Legacy of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt is one of the earliest and long-lasting civilizations in human history, left an indelible mark on the cultural and scientific landscape of the world. Its influence is felt in the architecture, art, religion, astronomy, and medicine of many subsequent cultures, especially the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations. The architectural achievements of the Egyptians, especially the construction of the pyramids, inspired the Greeks and Romans to create their own monumental structures. The concept of pillars and obelisks was borrowed and adapted in various forms in classical architecture. Egyptian symbolism and style were reflected in Roman temples and public buildings, emphasizing respect for ancient knowledge and cultural heritage. The scientific achievements of the Egyptians, including the development of mathematics and astronomy, had a significant influence on the development of these sciences in Greece and beyond. Egyptian methods of calculating time and the calendar, as well as their knowledge of the stars and planets, were the basis for further astronomical research in the ancient world. In medicine, the Egyptians achieved significant success, especially in the fields of surgery and pharmacology. Records of medical procedures found in Egyptian papyri reveal the ancient Egyptians' sophisticated knowledge of treating illness and injury. This knowledge was passed on through Greek scholars such as Herodotus and Plato, who studied in Egypt and influenced the development of medicine in Europe. Ancient Egypt continues to inspire modern culture, science, and art. Images and symbols borrowed from Egyptian mythology and history regularly appear in literature, movies, music, and even fashion. Egyptian motifs are used in the design of jewelry, clothing, and home furnishings, demonstrating the enduring interest in this ancient culture. Efforts to preserve Egyptian monuments, including pyramids, temples, and tombs, are an important part of global efforts to protect cultural heritage. Conservation and restoration programs supported by international organizations such as UNESCO help protect these priceless monuments for future generations. Interest in ancient Egypt, fueled by both new archaeological finds and modern technology, continues to grow. This allows us to not only preserve but also expand our understanding of this unique civilization, as well as explore new ways of interacting with its cultural heritage. The power of virtual reality and interactive museum exhibits opens up new horizons for education and cultural exchange, offering a deeper and more intimate immersion in the world of the ancient Egyptians. Innovations in archaeology and conservation, such as satellite archaeology and advanced dating techniques, continue to unlock the mysteries of the past. These technologies not only help scientists discover lost cities and tombs, but also provide new data about the climate, social structure, and even the diet of the ancient Egyptians, which in turn sheds light on the reasons for the rise and fall of this great civilization. In addition, growing interest in the reconstruction and revival of ancient Egyptian crafts such as papyrus making, earthenware making, and traditional construction methods is helping to preserve these ancient techniques for future generations. Overall, the legacy of ancient Egypt continues to influence the modern world in diverse and sometimes unexpected ways. From the inspiring achievements of ancient masters to ongoing efforts to preserve and study their creations, ancient Egypt remains a living reminder that the past always matters to the present and future, offering lessons, inspiration, and food for thought to generations of explorers, creators, and dreamers. In one of the previous videos, I talked about possible alien intervention in the life of ancient Egypt. I highly recommend watching it. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video on the channel.